So hello and welcome to Film Mixologist, the place on the internet thingy where we're just carrying on doing what we were doing last week, which is working on this Weber carbs. Now, Weber's carbs, especially DCOEs, have a reputation for being a little bit tricksy to build. A part of their reputation is warranted. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be kind of taking my time and I'm going to be guiding this video through the steps of primarily setting the shafts and the throttle plates, because this is the trickiest bit of doing this Webers. So just a quick recap. If you've seen the last episode, we tore these things apart. Now we cleaned them completely. Look at this, it looks really clean. It has been ultrasonic, blasting cabinet, the lot. So but now it's time to set the shafts. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start working on this. I did some prep already, so I'll show you a little bit closer what I've done so far and what I'm going to do now. Okay, so one of the things I've done is put some grease in here, a little bit in there, in the bearings. I've got my throttle plates, I've got my accelerator pump cam, and I've got the little roll pin that will go in. So the first thing you need to do with this, because there is quite an important order of integration, is you have to put this unit here. This is the accelerator pump cam, and it goes like so. You don't need to put it with the spring if you want to, but actually it's helpful putting it with the spring, because then you haven't got to put the spring, so it kind of saves you a job afterwards. So let's slide these units here. I forgot to say, let's have a look. Yeah, there you go, it's sliding like this, because if you forget to put this thing here, it's gonna, well, basically you're gonna have to build it again, which you don't want. And what I was going to say also is that the shafts have been treated with chemical blacking, so they are now, you know, brand new, rebuilt for realsies. There we go. So now I've got the shafts in. So what I do generally now is I put the throttle plates in. Yeah. So it's shaft, throttle plate. So if you put it like this, and as you can see, the shaft kind of spins freely, so we're good there. Throttle plates have, obviously they've been cleaned and polished a little bit. Now this is a little bit tricksy. And okay, so now what you need to control is that the throttle plates actually cover the progression holes which are there. There we go. And this seems to me that it is a good position. So what we're going to do now is put the screws here, but I'm not going to put them all the way. So in the sense of, I'm not going to completely torque them to spec if you want to. There you go. This one is a bit of a revel. I'll deal with that in a minute. But I'm gonna get another one here. Okay, so the screws in there were a bit because, and I'm going to show why, because I cut them at the bottom here, so they generate less of a restriction to airflow. So this is okay. So this is fine for now. So now we are ready to do the next throttle plate, which is like so. and you need to be okay. So here's where you need to start playing a bit with the throttle plate to get it to seat adequately, yeah? So sometimes, there we go. I think I nearly got it. So what you do now is you need to slightly turn the screws out a little bit in order to be able to do this ones. Why? Because what we need to do is get them to where they seat evenly, and this might take a kind of like a few goes. Now, as you can see there, they are more or less okay, but I still got kind of just that little bit there that is exposed. So what I need to do is I need to try and get them to be a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and secure them just a touch more, because sometimes what you need to do is you need to tap on the shaft ever so slightly so that the shaft moves position a bit. Nearly there. So let's try and see if I can. Okay, so as you see now, we've got the throttle plates basically in position. Now what we need to do is we need to do the accelerator, and as you can see here is the hole. Now what we need to do is we need to match up this hole to that hole there, whilst we are holding it like that. Move on like this. There we go. So now the two holes are lined up, and then what you need to do is drive this roll pin. So this can get a little bit tricksy. So once you line them up, sometimes it helps if you've got the assistance of one of these, a long nose plier, because what you can do is try and start it. I think it's something. I need something a little bit more precise. This. So there you go. After a little bit of finagling, we managed to get it in. There we go. So now what we got is we've got the throttles more or less installed, which they might need a little bit of adjustment. And part of the adjustment for the throttles is to okay, so now we've got the throttles, and they're actually, you know, smooth, and crucially, you know, they cover the progression holes both like that, so I know that these are okay. So now what we need to do is we need to press the bearings onto this. So basically they have been lubricated already, yeah, inside and out, and these bearings are slightly different to the ones that Weber used initially, because these are sealed bearings, which they're a little bit better, but you need the throttle plates in place. So look, if I do like this, and what you do is you get like any sort of one of these, and once it is flush with the carb, what you do, it needs to be a 12, as I'm doing this. And now what you do is you give it a couple of taps on the side, until the bearing is seating right about there. So that's about right. So now what I need to do is I need to turn it around and do the same for this side. There we go. So same thing, and because I've lubricated it, it goes relatively easy. So now you need to always strike the outside ring of the bearing, because if not you can damage it a little bit more. There we go. Now it's okay, and now what we need to check is that, yep. Okay, so now what we need to do is something that again can be a little bit tricksy, but you need to do it, which is put the tab of the of this like so, and what you need is needle nose pliers that can get this. You need to locate this more or less there. Let's see if we can see it. There we go. And you need to have it ready to slide it in like so and like so. There we go. So now you've got a situation where, yep, so now we've got tension on here. So now what we're going to do, let's put it down again. So now what we need to do is very carefully put some kind of Loctite 270 to really lock down this screws. So let me find my favorite tool to do this, which I should have got before, by the way. So what I tend to do is I take one screw at a time, very carefully, and then I put a dab of Loctite 270, a bit like so. And now it's time to reinstall it. It's easier if you do it kind of standing up. But the difference with before is that now what you need to do is you need to tighten them firmly so that the product has the chance of actually sealing it. There we go. So that's why you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush this, because you have to do them one at a time, because basically all the other screws basically are holding the throttle plates in the right place, and that's what you want. For now, we don't want these throttle plates to go anywhere else than where they are at the moment. Excellent. So now you do the same from on the other side on this too. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got the throttle plates. Look at this. That's the right sound of the action. So what we need to do now is I need to put all of this, well, most of these parts like so. And I have to be really careful when I do this, because there are some pieces that are very, very tricky to do. For example, these two little balls here. So you can see them here. They go inside one of these. 1, 2. You need to be very careful when you drop them in. And generally this is the first thing I do. So it's balls, these little bits. 1, 2. 1, 2, there we go. And now this little seals here, because once you've done this, it's relatively easy to do all the rest. So as you can probably listen, it's been raining quite a lot. It's raining quite a lot outside. But anyway, this is as far as I'm gonna get for the time being. I have obviously done a couple of things. I've set the float height here. I've got another video in the channel that explains how to set the float heights in this kind of units. So that's, you know, you can go to the playlist on the other channel. In the channel, and there is a video about how to set the float heights of carburetors. So if you want the other kind of the ideas of how to do that, you need to go and watch that video. So as you can see, we've got all of the kind of internal bits of the unit. I put the choke on, and I put the this bit at the back, and I put the aux vents. There you go. Chokes 32 and the aux vents. Now this is important because I need to match 32 chokes with the aux vents on the other carb. But the reason why I'm stopping here for the time being with this carb is because, and it will become clear in the next segment, I need to match all the calibratable components of all the idle circuit, all the main circuit, the pump discharge valves and all that stuff. But that I do once I've got the two carbs side by side and I put all the bits together. Yeah. So for the time being, let's just leave this unit here like so, and I'm gonna have to construct now the other unit. So just give me a few moments to do that, and we'll start doing all the calibratable parts in here. Okay, and here's the reason why I wanted to wait till now. Obviously, as you can see, the two carbs are more or less done. But the reason why I'm waiting here is because I need to equalize all of these parts, and I need to make absolutely double sure that they are correct. So we have got 1 to 5 mains on F9 tubes across 200 main air. You can't see it here, but it's underneath there. We got 55 F8s throughout and 35 pump discharges. So this is now all of these components. I know that they are exactly the same, so they're gonna go into each carb, but I know absolutely 100% that they're the same. Okay, so as you can see here, we are kind of going places with this build. Now, one thing that I need to show you is a slightly different approach that I take with bearings and sealings, because I use a different model. So what I'm talking about now is about the sealing of the shafts here. And because I use sealed bearings rather than open bearings like the original ones of the carb, I don't need to use this seal here, that basically this keeps all the bearing grease inside the bearing, and that's why this spring keeps the bearing under pressure. All of that is eliminating by using a sealed bearing, so that has a much better result. So now what I need to do is I need to install this kind of end caps, if you want, for the carbs, and I'm ready to start kind of doing all the kind of final assembly procedures, which is the linkage, and then I need to mount it on the manifold as well. Okay, so now as you can see, I'm at a stage where I can start kind of buttoning them up with the manifold. And what I did here is I put them kind of side by side with the linkage, and I did an initial adjustment, but now in a minute I'm gonna, once they're in the manifold, I need to adjust that linkage properly, but I'm gonna just leave it there for the time being whilst I do the manifold, because there are some particularities you need to be aware of when you put in the manifold. Okay, so here are the components of the mounting system for this carb. So here's what we call the MISAB plate, which goes over the manifold. Now the carbs go on top of here, but they are secured by obviously bolts, but you need to put this is like a rubber that basically can be compressed, and this component is quite important in the whole system, because the carb needs to be able to flex and vibrate a little bit. So in the previous segment, I'll explain what was going on. Is that at first I tried to kind of put them like so and just slide the manifold in, but it wasn't sliding in properly. So what I had to do is a bit of a tried and tested method, in that what I needed to do is I needed to align the studs with the holes in the carb and the two carbs together. So what I do is I put a nut on the top of the stud, and I gently hit it with a hammer to bend it slightly so that all the studs are correct. Now I know some people might say it's not the correct way of doing it. It's good enough, it works for me, and it's done. One thing that is also quite important, I don't know if you've seen it in the video or not, is that I wasn't hitting it, I was only gently tapping it with a rubber mallet. So don't get a hammer, nothing like that. It needs to be gently tapped with a rubber mallet. Nothing that's going to create a big impact on the pieces, because these ears can break in this carb, so that's why it's very important. But hey ho, so now the unit is complete. So, and as you can see, the proof of work in my hands. So here we go. So what I needed to do also is to do some final adjustment here for the throttle actuator, and here, so the fuel connects here and comes in here. So this is actually absolutely brilliant. The other thing I forgot to mention is that unfortunately on the top side I didn't have enough thread space, so I had to use this sort of washers that are slightly springy on the top side, but I did manage to fit the MISAB spaces on the bottom side, so you know, at least that's something. So I guess this so here's the bottom side of the carbs and everything kind of ready to go. So actually these units are ready to go and ready to be, you know, packed, photographed, sold, that kind of stuff. So I want to say thank you very much for watching this episode, following along with this series. Next week we're gonna be tackling a build for our British Leyland Mini, so a mini, classic mini with a Weber carb and a specialist manifold. I think that's going to be good. So thank you very much for watching this episode. If you've got any questions or comments, put it down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next episode.